Alpha
Omega.
Mark says, I studied Qigong, Feng Shui, and Chinese herbs. I bought the Golden Dawn book a few weeks ago, and it is huge. What would be a good place to start since I'm trying to cram all these studies and work at a full-time job? Okay, that's really easy in your case, Mark. Okay. Okay, you say you study Qigong, Feng Shui, and Chinese herbs. Do you practice Qigong? Because Qigong will serve you in very good stead in your magical practice. Qigong and Feng Shui come from ancient Taoism in China. In fact, the Taoist tradition, the ancient Taoist tradition, has some very interesting similarities with the Western Hermetic tradition. The most important difference being ours has not been persecuted the way the Taoist tradition has been persecuted in China. These days, belonging to Falun Gong or having to do with the, working with the Qi energy can land you in prison in China.
Yes.
Whereas here in the West, no. So we've been very, very fortunate in that magic is not forbidden, and working with the Lux energy, the God Force energy, is not forbidden here. We're really, really very lucky. And, if certain people have their way, that's not going to be the case for long. There are people that want to not only form a one world government, they want to eliminate religion entirely. And of course, all knowledge of the Lux, all knowledge of what they call Qi or Lux in China, all knowledge of Kundalini, this will all, of course, be repressed if we ever allow worldwide repressive regime to get into power.
Yes.
So let's hope that doesn't happen. So Mark, I hope that answers your question. Okay, no, it didn't yet. Let's see. The most important thing you should do is continue your Qigong practice. What else you should do on the Golden Dawn side is add in your Golden Dawn practice. And what you should specifically do in the beginning is Kabbalistic cross, lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. Those two go together. So I just say LBRP, I mean Kabbalistic cross is part of that self-understood.
Yes.
So you should do LBRP followed by the middle pillar, followed by the LBRP at least once a day. If you do no more than this, you will get maximum results from your time with us for a minimum investment of your time. It's very important because our curriculum, our theoretical curriculum, can be a bit daunting. It's a lot of material. But don't worry about that. You can digest it in little bites. It took me years, and it will probably take you years too. But there's no problem with that. The most important thing, however, is your practice. Because if you don't get results in your practice relatively quickly, you're going to abandon it, and you probably abandon your Golden Dawn studies. So get some results. This is a system to train and strengthen and activate your energetic body.
Yes.
So use it primarily for that. All the intellectual stuff can come later. It's all secondary. If you have time, do that, progress through the grades, use the intellectual curriculum, but do the magical curriculum first and foremost.
Yes, that's where you'll see benefits.
Right away. Amazing things in your life. Now, you probably are familiar with this energy already anyway. Because if you've been practicing Qigong, Qigong has the word Qi as a part of it, and there's a reason for that, because it works directly with the Qi. You're not just going through slow motion motions if you're doing it right. I know that here in the West, a lot of the original Tao teachings that went along with these exercises have been lost, depending on who's training you. But there are people who still know how to really use the Qi in Qigong. We use it, the same energy, exactly the same energy is used by all of the great initiatic and esoteric traditions of the world.
Yes.
Whether it's Kundalini in Tantra, ancient Tantra in India, or whether it's Qi in ancient Taoism, in China, or whether it's Lux in ancient Hermeticism here in the West, it's all the same energy. And we all have great contributions, great and unique contributions to the body of knowledge in the world about this energy.
Yes.
And Taoism has some really interesting things that we don't have in the Hermetic tradition that can be a great complement to the Hermetic tradition in Golden Dawn practice. For example, let's see, and we have some things too that they don't have. Let's start with that. Middle pillar is your absolutely most important practice in the Golden Dawn. The LBRP is to cast a circle before and to send stuff away after. Okay? When you're doing the right of the middle pillar, you are using the magnetism of your body in order to attract more of this chi, more of this lux, more of what I really like to call God force energy, because that's really what it is. It's an electromagnetic energy that comes from the sun, and it's alive. In fact, it is the source of life itself. We live on it. So your question is a really good one. Work with the chi. Continue to work with the chi, Mark, and not only work with the chi, work with it from the Lux perspective as well. Because you're actually working, let me explain this to you, Mark, from a Taoist perspective. When you're doing Qigong, you're active, you're moving, physical movement. It's like the LBRP. This is represented by yin energy in the Taoist conception of yin and yang. Yin energy is energy at rest. Yang energy is energy at motion. So you see, we're working with this energy at rest during the right of the middle pillar. In the universe, in science, we see these things rather than as yin and yang. In the universe, we talk about fusion and gravity. Gravity being the magnetic force that holds the planets together and holds the planets in their rotation around rotation around the sun, and fusion being the force that fuels the stars and fuels the galaxies. This is just another way of saying yin and yang. In the Golden Dawn, we represent these things on the glyph of the Kabbalistic tree of life. You have the 10 Sephirot. Think of the Sephirot, for convenience sakes, as cups, containers of energy, like this glass. You know, this is like a Sephirah, and the energy inside is the Lux. So these are containers containing the energy at rest. Whereas the paths on the tree of life that you see, each emanating from the Sephirot and flowing between the Sephirot, this is the yang energy when it's in motion.
Should I get the diagram?
No, it's not a problem.
Okay.
We will put it up later when we replay the video. When we release the video, we'll add it. It's not a problem.
Sure.
You guys can pull up on Google right now, Tree of Life. It's real simple. It's really simple to pull up if you want to look at it. I don't have one here set up. Remember, folks, this is not a prepared lesson. We don't do prepared lessons. We do teleprompter free. Okay, you really want to go get it? Go get it.
It's so nice.
Okay.
Yes.
I
haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you're right. I see what you mean. Okay, yeah. I know. We were getting ready to do 5 = 6 initiations last week, and we were getting some things out of storage and things. We initiated a whole crew of adepts, and one of the things that we found was something from my very, very early years of magic, when I was creating incredible things to prove to myself that magic is real.
And this was so beautiful when I found it. I really wanted to show it to everyone. Here, we'll stand back this way. Isn't this gorgeous?
Isn't it beautiful? I was telling Liz, there's a stain here. I used to use it as an altar cloth. There's a stain here and there. So I don't know how we can fix it. So she wants to put it in a under a frame and treat it as an artifact.
Of course.
Anyway, so that's the tree of life. And that's the symbolism of the energy at rest and energy in motion explained from the point of view of the Hermetic tradition. Mm-hmm. Whereas the Taoist tradition explains these things with a different symbolism as the two forces, masculine and feminine, yin and yang, science as fusion and gravity. But it's really all the same energy.
And if you really want to get down to it, it is all ones and zeros. Don't be alarmed.
Right. 1 and 0. All right. Now, how does this play out in your life as a magician using Golden Dawn magic? Okay, you're doing middle pillar. Mm-hmm. Middle pillar, you're using the magnetism of your body to work with the yin aspect of the God Force energy.
Yes.
Excuse me for making all of these cross-cultural references, but it's really important. The best way. It's the best way to explain it. You know, so you're working with this God Force energy. You're working with the passive magnetic aspect of it.
Yes.
Okay, not the outflowing, shining fusion aspect of it, but instead you're using the magnetism of your own body to attract more God Force.
Yes.
You're bringing it in. You're like building an egg of light around you with this. And that nurtures your energetic body. It feeds you. It charges your energetic body. You will notice it's working because you start to get these automatic outrushes of yang energy.
Yes, and they feel really spectacular. You know how you're... Okay, so example. I'm in the kitchen. I'm frying bacon. Happy morning, yay, and all of a sudden, whoo! It's like someone has poured a glass of ice water up my back. Oh, very thrilling. And then it happened again, and then it happened again. And once you have that first one, and you feel that, whoo, you can make it come again.
Right, and Qigong is a great way to learn to direct and control the energy. Another great way is the rite of the Kabbalistic cross.
Yes.
Because with the rite of the Kabbalistic cross, you are calling the energy from above to below, from center to right, from center to left, and then you're circulating it around your heart. So this is a way to begin to work with the energy in motion. You're going to want to, over time, bring this energy under the control of your magical will, which means it comes when you want it to, and it goes where you want it to. You can summon it and you can direct it. For example, one way that we use this energy is to charge a talisman. Talismans are symbolical objects, by definition, symbolical objects that are charged with energy for a specific purpose. Say, for example, you want to find a new girlfriend or a new wife. You could do a Venus talisman, and you could do a Venus invocation, and then you would project, using the sign of the Emperor, God Force or Lux or Qi energy into the talisman to charge it, to make it active. So you can take this energy and project it into objects for magical purposes, for example. You can take the same energy. Oh yes, by the way, this is the same energy that they use in Reiki as well. You can use this energy to heal, as they do in Reiki.
Yes.
You can use this energy, well, what most of us do, to be more alive. I want to come back a little bit to the Taoist tradition, because we were talking about some of the things, the contributions that we have here in the West to what might be the perennial initiatic tradition. But there are some really, really interesting things that come out of the East, and especially out of Taoism. To me, it seems that the most important contribution of Taoism to the worldwide initiatic knowledge is this whole science of the meridians of the body and the meridian points. This is something that's by and large missing in the Hermetic tradition, that you find very, very well developed in the Taoist tradition.
Yes.
Now, this can be useful to you. So we've had one practitioner already of Qigong here talking about their other energetic work in conjunction with the Golden Dawn. Well, Leslie and I are big fans of acupuncture.
Yes.
Because you can do a lot of amazing things with acupuncture. I always was very skeptical about it until I had problems with my back. I mean, big problems with my back. That was completely eliminated with acupuncture. It's really effective. And then, when Leslie and I were going for a while into Las Vegas to an acupuncturist who's since retired, a very elderly gentleman, he was really, really very, very good from China, was really, really very good with what he did. And one of the things that I was doing was I told him, okay, I'm going to be in a Tai Chi Chuan competition. Just imagine that I am a competitor in a Tai Chi Chuan competition, and I want you to tune up my Chi so that it is working in optimal condition for the competition. Oh, no problem. So I entered into this regimen of Chi tune-up. My goodness. Talk about a boost to your energetic development. This can be a very powerful adjunct to ritual magic. I just thought I would mention it on the way. As a student of both Eastern and now Western spiritual arts and practicing HOGD, I want to retain my Eastern practices. Is it okay to meditate with my Eastern mantras at the same time as LBRP and Middle Pillar? Should I separate by time? I don't have a lot due to work schedule. Is it advisable to practice japa, repetition of the mantra, all day long as I normally would have? How does one reconcile East-West practices into one?
Can I take this one, having done it actually?
Please.
Okay. I spent many years in Hindu temple, chanting many, many mantras on a regular basis. It is best to suspend the chanting, the internal chanting practice during the duration of what you're doing in the Golden Dawn. Now, that being said, I found it incredibly difficult. And so what I did is I dismissed that part of my consciousness to a meditation room inside my mind, so that that portion of me that consistently chants can be sectioned off into another place, continuing its chanting, but energetically sectioned off.
Right.
Because I understand if you've had a mantra practice for a long time,
right,
it's really hard to shut it off.
Right.
It really is. And some people think this is a problem. You know, the earworm. People who get earworms. Okay, a mantra is an earworm of your own choosing. The Om Mani Padme Hum earworm is beautiful to have, and it can actually overwrite other earworms you may have. But earworm is exactly equivalent to mantra practice, and so treat it the same way. If you can't shut it out any other way, put it in its own room. But I encourage you to learn how to shut that off. It's part of a powerful sovereign mind and an adept magician to be able to turn keys and lock things, and this energy comes on now, and this energy goes off now, and I'm doing this.
Right.
This is what you want to be skilled at. Yes, go ahead, work 2 or 3 different traditions, but close the door behind you and keep the systems isolated. This will create precision and excellence within your practice, because so few people are actually able to do it.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, so that's really what, don't blend them. Instead, be rigid, keep them definitely separate, and you'll notice an increased power by doing that.
Very good. Thank you, Leslie. That's very similar to what I wanted to say. I was going to suggest that you keep them separated one way or another. This is a much better way that you suggested. I was going to suggest, yes, in time, devote a certain amount of time to your Eastern practices and a certain amount of time to your Western practices.
Yes.
Keep them, but do keep them separate. Do not make the big yellow cheese glob out of it. Like
Right.
like somebody's trying to say they're trying to create a world religion now called Chrislam.
Right. Oh.
You don't
and-
want to be part of the yellow cheese glob.
Right. And do you know what the favorite dish is?
What?
It's pizza and sausage stir fry. Ooh, nasty. Pizza stir fry.
Oh.
Doesn't that sound horrible? Okay, this is what happens when you mix indiscriminately. You don't want pizza stir fries,
Right.
and you don't want a peanut butter and jelly pot roast.
You can also cause problems for yourself because there can be a conflict of egregores. I suggest that you
Yes.
keep each egregore neatly separated and segregated.
For example, I separate in time, and I don't know if you've ever noticed this or not, but I separate physically in time my Japanese ancestors worship practice from my Chinese tea ceremony practice by at least 4 hours. If I've done tea ceremony, I'll wait 4 hours before going to the ancestors worship altar because it's
wonderful.
Japanese. Because the Japanese and the Chinese have hated each other for thousands of years. And you don't want those two traditions anywhere near each other if you're trying to keep everything nice and hermetically calm in your world.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we have lots of different kinds of magics that we have going on here, but we have them separated in a whole lot of different ways. Like you're separating that practice in time, and we separate also in terms of space. Like the magic of Jesus is done out there in the hinge. Golden Dawn magic, by and large, is done in the Golden Dawn temple.
Right, we have a specific place where shamanistic work is carried out.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's
So-
very carefully compartmentalized here.
Compartmentalized. So, Mark, you're going to need to, yes, you can do that, no problem. But keeping it compartmentalized could be a problem. Now, there is another thing, and that is diet. Eastern practices frequently require vegetarianism.
Right.
That doesn't really work for Western people. We here in the West, we try to keep our caloric intake so that we're balancing for the seasons with more really rich foods in the winter and more
Wet and crispy.
yeah in the summertime. So this may be difficult for you to reconcile this different philosophy of nutrition here in the West with Hermetic practice with your Eastern practice. And remember something. If you're practicing an Eastern practice, you're always a Westerner. First and foremost. That's why I always try to tell people, look, the advantage to working with the Golden Dawn is if you're from the West, this is your own psychic system.
You're predisposed to understand
Right.
it.
It's your symbolical language of this truth. And trying to rob foreign temples, for lack of a better word, is
Right.
never a good idea.
Right.
So it's better if you can work within the egregore of your own culture and preserve these traditions and work these traditions. But then again, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Leslie and I are certainly not opposed to going for acupuncture sessions.
No, and I love my Asian traditions that I picked up when I was in Okinawa. And I would encourage you, Mark, to look at Okinawan dietary habits if you're trying to reconcile Eastern and Western practice. Because what I liked best about living in Okinawa, do you know what they eat the most of?
What?
Greens and fried pork. Except they
Wow.
put it on rice instead of fried potatoes.
Oh, my
It was an
goodness.
easy switch.
Oh, wow. But tell them what they told you in the Hindu temple about your adventure in vegetarianism.
Right. My guru, he was very good to me, Guru Paranjotiyar. And he said, he came up to me one day and he said, "You are not looking well." And I said, "Well, you know, I'm feeling a little weak. I've never been vegetarian quite so long." His eyes got as wide as saucers. He says, "Why are you eating a vegetarian diet?" Then my eyes got wide, like, "But I thought it was supposed to be." And he said, "You're a Westerner. This is going to make you sick. It's already making you sick, isn't it?" I was like, "Well, yeah." And he says, "And you crave meat?" I said, "Yes." And he says, "Well, that is your nature. You should eat meat. Do not do this vegetarian thing. You simply weren't born lucky enough to be able to handle a vegetarian diet. And so you'll have to wait till another incarnation.
Oh,
That's
wow.
all right. Go ahead and eat meat now. It will be fine."
Well,
And
that's
so-
one way of looking at it.
And so it was kind of a thing. But in fact, he was being honest with me. And he was telling me something that nobody else really had the nerve to. And he was saying, "Hey, you, Western lady, What are you doing in our temple? You're not one of us. Try again next time, but for now, you are not in the kind of body that can handle a vegetarian diet. So please, do not hurt yourself.
Wow.
And that's how I continued. I would eat the vegetarian food there, and then as soon as I left the temple, I'd head home for a steak, because this is what I need. I am a very, very Western person. And the more I studied the Eastern ways, the more I realized that I was just ignoring my own home.
And the way of Hermeticism is the way of balance. We try to have balance in all things.
Yes.
And so we're not strictly vegetarian, but we don't necessarily eat meat all year round either.
Right.
So it's a middle way.
Right. It's the way of temperance. It's the way of a little bit is good. Well, the way we used to say it in my family is, enough is enough, and too much is nasty.
Oh, wow.
The Illuminati have cast a powerful spell on the peoples of the earth. And while many still sleepwalk like zombies in a trance, they have prepared everything nearly to enslave humanity under a new world empire.
Of our hearts, the power of our magic, and the strength of our numbers, we still can break the spell put on our people.
We're just a ragtag bunch of magicians armed only with the power of our prayer and the power of our faith and the power of our magic. But whether you be Christian, Jew, Wiccan, pagan, magician, shamanic practitioner, or any other stripe of spiritual warrior of humanity against this evil falls to us.
So we, who now, to stand with us against the rising darkness, because you're our only hope.
Have you ever wanted to gain real magical abilities so you can become the master of your destiny?
Do you wish you could get the ancient secret key for free so you can build the life of your dreams?
If you've wanted more out of life, to become all that you can be, physically, romantically, financially, spiritually, then you need to take action and get this right now.
That's right, and for free, but it won't be available for much longer.
So go right now to thescienceofmiracles.com and get started. Achieve the prosperous life you want for yourself. Gain ultimate life mastery.
Are you familiar with the Rosicrucian with what's his name? He's popular in the States. He's the president or the
Emperor.
Imperator.
The president.
Emperor.
Imperator.
From the Golden Dawn. What's his name?
Oh.
David Griffin holds this position as Emperor.
Imperator.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
Have David Griffin.
I saw an email yesterday that he sent out about, there's a magical war going on.
The Mage War.
Demons of the infernal realm. I'm all of them.
There is really a magical war going on.
The Mage War.
There is a guy called David Griffin who is heading all these magicians.
David Griffin is S.L. McGregor Mather's present successor.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
I'm Golden Dawn Imperator David Griffin.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
Now David Griffin.
There's a magical war going on.
So there is really a magical war going on.